Cranwell, in the green heart of England, where young men go to learn all the best that the Royal Air Force can give them. Cranwell, a place of learning, a school of adventure, a training ground, not just for airmanship, but character. These youngsters will not only learn to be men, but leaders of men, like Frank Walker, just starting his 2.5-year course. Robert Campbell here is nearing the end of his first year at Cranwell. See him now with his flying instructor, who's sharing this first mingling of skill and adventure, which is flight. Cranwell, the Royal Air Force College, with a young tradition. A tradition which has already its great names and heroes, men who have made their mark on this century. And all who come to Cranwell with high hopes and adventurous ambitions are setting out on a career of duty and service. And this young tradition of the Royal Air Force will demand of each and all not only team spirit, but individual integrity. The Royal Air Force is a force in the world today, and young men like these, destined to be its future leaders, must carry that tradition to the ends of the world. Who is for the higher education of Cranwell? Here, among those being instructed in aerodynamics, is a cross-section of hand-picked youth from Britain and the Commonwealth. They're not here through privilege or money, but through merit. In these days, the parents of Cranwell flight cadets do not pay for this higher education. The flight cadets, on their merits, mark you, come from the public schools, grammar schools and secondary schools, from other parts of the Commonwealth, and from the Royal Air Force itself. Some of them are assisted by Air Ministry scholarships during their last 2 years at the school.
Thermodynamics again today. That means we're really coming to grips with the theory of jet engines and turboprops. Of course, we're not actually flying jets at the moment, though we will be in a year or so when we get vampires. At present, we go through a jet conversion unit before reaching our squadrons and flying the latest operational types.
Even a tough subject like radar becomes quite exciting when you begin to dig into it, and a good thing too. You don't get very far in aviation these days without electronics. What of those seniors at the top who've long since taken an increasing responsibility in the daily life of the college and are well on the way to gaining their wings? Nigel Hawkins, for instance, here in this navigation class, is under the guidance of teachers who may be young in years, but already veterans in experience. Nigel did well at school, a prefect and a fine athlete. He also obtained a good general certificate of education at advanced level, one of the qualifications which makes a young man, no matter what his school or background, eligible to try for Cranwell. Today's flight cadets are destined to go forth not only as fully trained pilots, but as men who can look beyond their first youth to a long career in key positions in the intricate pattern of an air force with world commitments.
You may be surprised to see the uniform of the United States Air Force at Cranwell. But it is here because the American Air Force has shared 2 wars with the British. We exchange ideas, and we are proud to be able to contribute directly to the work of the Royal Air Force.
To fly is not enough. Before you soar, you must walk and study. Before you wear the uniform of an officer, you must be familiar with the overalls of a mechanic. Before you can lead, you must know, for it takes 9 men properly led on the ground to keep every one pilot aloft. And Frank Walker is learning that important principle of Cranwell.
They certainly start you at the bottom at Cranwell. I'm learning a lot about aircraft, but mostly on the ground. And I'm learning that this career of mine calls for terrific efforts by those who aren't flying. Effort's the word. With all the rushing about we have to do, I find I get a massive appetite. Mother needn't have worried about my weight. Most of the chaps in the junior entry put on weight, and in spite of everything, I've already gained 3 pounds myself. You make friends with people from all over the place, including other parts of the Commonwealth. There's already a feeling about our entry, rather like all belonging to the same house at school, and a terrific sense of not letting the side down. The spit and polish has to be seen to be believed. It's part of the training, of course. A bit formidable at first, but it soon comes naturally, and we all begin to take a pride in it. Flying here at Cranwell is just a matter of course. A safe, carefully planned part of our routine activities. From the very first week, we've been flying regularly as passengers in the college Ansons. Not just joyriding, of course. Besides getting used to flying, these trips are used for initial training in map reading. The lesson goes on all the time we're airborne. Outside instructional hours, there's gliding. I was mad keen to get into this, and I found that everybody was allowed to volunteer in his very first term. Some people even take their glider tests and qualify while they're still in the junior entries.
Gliding, a spare time activity. Though these young men, when they first arrive, sometimes ask, where is the spare time? But after the first impact, they find that the pace is not forced at Cranwell. Character is allowed to develop at leisure and in leisure. The college gliding is just one of the activities that's encouraged and wide open to all, junior or senior. Flying, an adventure and a test of character, but also a normal part of the daily routine at Cranwell. It's a routine of flying and growing confidence which pilot and pupil share. It's a steady effort which will build up to one of the great moments in Robert Campbell's life at Cranwell, and indeed in his service career. the moment when he's rated good enough to fly alone.
All right, Campbell, you have control. I'm not coming this time. Good luck.
My first solo at last. She's all mine. All mine.
He'll be all right. Campbell's got what it takes. Don't I know how it feels? Don't I remember taking my first solo? Steady now. There's a good chap. Easy does it. There.
Easy does it. There. Alone at last. I want to sing or shout or something. No. No shouting. Remember the drill. Bank to starboard now, and remember...
From the first tentative solo to the advanced training that will one day be rewarded by the very badge of manhood, a pilot's wings. For Nigel Hawkins, the future is opening high and wide.
Formation flying. It's really something to live for.
Discipline, the strictest of all, the discipline of the air.
Then the low flying, the naught feet stuff. And woe betide anyone who tries to make a stunt of it. It's a vital part of our training, calling for skill and discipline. When I completed my jet training, I reported for my first posting as an operational pilot. A bit het up, of course, but the CO, himself an old Cranwellian, well, somehow managed to put me at ease. I soon felt fine. I felt I belonged already. Outside, there were the aircraft, and the pilots of our squadron. Our squadron. Funny how it comes naturally to say that right at the start. What a start. Aircraft everywhere, and one waiting there for me, and the ground crew standing by. The best ground crew, they tell me, of any squadron in the wing. As keen as, well, I felt pretty keen myself. This was it. This was the moment.
See him now, Nigel Hawkins, holder of the Cranwell Sword of Honour with his operational squadron. and proudly, yes, a little proudly, beginning flying service as a fully fledged officer of the Queen's Royal Air Force. To Cranwell he brought his merit. From Cranwell he received a lasting and cherished imprint, that of a man marked for leadership. An opening world still young. And shall we be among this new dimension's pride with these who soar and ride? The ancient dreams come true. Skill and adventure new, pilot and pupil share in these bright fields of air. Shall we too share the bright, wide fields of soaring flight? And where the tall sun towers, declare the sky is ours.